Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. It is Let's Get Phygital, episode 5. And while we're waiting for everybody to roll in, I'm going to give some market updates. So, our market cap today for crypto is up by 2.38%. So, we just bumped up to 1.45 trillion. If I recall, it was 1.42 yesterday. So, very interesting. Also, just something that's very, very interesting is Luna just keeps trending and tracking. It's quite bizarre. It's actually up 18% today. I've just haven't looked at it, but we've seen Bitcoin climb in the past 24 hours, 2.75% up to 38.7. And we've also seen Ethereum bumping up a couple of percent to $2,092. Let's go down a little bit. So XRP's holding 61 cents. Solana up 2%. Cardano up 2%. So Chainlink 5%. That's not surprising. Chainlink, just seeing there's been a little pump in NFTs, Avalanche, Polygon, Polkadot, all up and around the 45% climb. So, yeah, some interesting developments here in the market, just to keep everybody updated on what's going on. How you doing today, Vince?
I'm doing well, my man. I'm doing well after a little bit of a late night last night, but all good.
How was your gig?
It was it was okay. I mean, it reminds me, I haven't played out in a little while, so it was nice to get out and go DJ and feel how the people respond to the music, It's a good outlet. I miss it. Hopefully that will
So, are you
change.
okay? So, I assume you're going to some clubs in Chicago. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was just a slow night across the industry last night, from what I heard. So it is what it is. We're right in between the holidays. You know what I'm saying? So
Interesting. So, do you get paid to play these gigs? Is that like I assume you do, right? So they get DJs in
yeah,
to.
yeah. It just depends on some of the times the venue, how much they pay. Like it's why right now, what I'm really trying to focus on is getting in with an agent and a manager so that they can help promote, so I can get different gigs throughout the U.S. and international, because I just don't have the time to be pumping out all kinds of emails to try to reach out myself, and agents is the way to go. So now that I have a resume kind of built up, this last year was a really good year for music releases, good labels. So now it's time to step that up and find some representation that can help me really start to move things forward at a better pace.
That's awesome, man. It's pretty exciting, eh? The fact that I think you were telling me you had 18 tracks that got signed this year. So
Yep.
that's awesome, bro.
Yeah, and it's even better now that when you got people that are hitting you up to do remixes of their tracks, and labels that are hitting you up, especially when it comes from the label, because now it's not just, another industry artist. It's a label that's saying, hey, I've got a track that an artist we're releasing for an artist, but we're looking for some remixers. So we've garnished enough attention to, start moving in that direction as well, where labels are like, hey, we want to get you on here. It's good exposure for us too, as artists.
Beautiful, beautiful. No, that's dope, bro.
So Mark, I need you
So,
to do me a favor. I need you to
sure,
pump
sure,
my
absolutely.
crypto bags, man, so I can freaking retire and go into music full time. Oh wait, we're already doing that through Zeno. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, that's us, man. I reckon we should be targeting this cycle. Cheeky little, player cards, right? It's all going to go that way. But today we're going to be talking about
Bitcoin.
central bank digital currency dystopian nightmare,
Ugh.
which is we'll go over it. Let me read something to you. Okay, so this is the question I posed to ChatGPT. What is the one world currency conspiracy and the negative impacts from CBDC? So, the one world currency conspiracy is a part of a broader conspiracy theory known as the New World Order. This theory hypothesizes a secret emerging totalitarian world government. It suggests that a secretive elite with a globalist agenda is conspiring to achieve world domination and replace sovereign nation states with an authoritarian one world government. This government would control all aspects of life, including the economy, through a single global currency. The theory alleges that influential historical and contemporary figures are part of a cabal orchestrating political and financial events as steps in an ongoing plot to achieve this world domination. So, this is the conspiracy that surrounds CBDCs. Interested today to hear people's views on it. Whether this is like there is a legitimate, where people think there is a legitimate secretive elite, or if this is just a natural progress of technology advancing, and as technology advances, we're just moving in this direction of digitizing everything. So very keen to hear from you guys initially what you guys think. Vince.
Yeah, I think it's all bullshit. Honestly, these tinfoil hat wearers are just blowing things out of proportion. I had to be contrarian. I think is that word conspiracy theory has been so obliterated through the process of the C-19 issue, and all these supposed conspiracy theories are now being shown to be the truth. So should we be labeling things a conspiracy theory anymore at this point when they continue to be proven as the truth? Um, Again, in my opinion, I think it's absolutely about control, power and control. And the more data they have, the more they can see what you're doing, that they don't like. And again, this goes into the ESG movement, right? How China's doing things over there, posting pictures of whatever, person that does something that they don't like, and they pretty much put them on social blast, right? Um, Now, I've heard the arguments on both sides of this that if you're going to use the CBDC and it's programmable money, that, when people need assistance, say, whether it be government assistance, that they could not utilize that CBDC for certain things. I can see that aspect of it. But I also see the fact that you give up freedoms too with that. Um, Again, I think this is where we find ourselves on that slippery slope of we can justify it, but at what cost to freedoms and liberties? That's my opinion. Passing the mic over to Sir Quark.
Thanks, mate. I just had to. My wife's vacuuming in the hallway. I had to go and close the door. Yeah. No, I mean, if we were having this discussion a year, well, say 2 or 3 years ago, pre-COVID, I would have said it's all conspiracy. Everyone's full of shit. But I don't know. With all the the research I've been doing and stuff we've experienced here in New Zealand in the last few years, I think we are on that slippery slope. We've had the one of the strong proponents of the one world government running our country here, Jacinda Ardern, and then we look at her mates like Trudeau in Canada, and that it all sort of starts making sense. You follow some of the announcements that the guys at the World Economic Forum are making. And I must admit, I was a bit naive a few years ago. I thought the WEF was was sort of part of the United Nations, but I didn't actually realise it's a completely independent organisation. So yeah, interested to see what others have experienced.
And if anybody down in the audience wants to come on up and have a say, please go ahead and put a request in up to speak. Leo, how about you? What do you think's going on with the CBDCs?
Actually, I have a question before we get into that. So, what you're saying is that if you have like a stable, something that's like a stable, like USDC, where you're stable, and so that is a security, correct? Is that what you're saying? Oh,
Yeah, they essentially, I believe it's going to be a medium of such a stable coin, but it's monopolized and controlled by the central bank and not by a private industry, right? Like perhaps if you look at USDT is a private entity. It's not controlled by the central banks, well, that we know of currently, right? Same, I think, with USDC, and there's some other stable coins, right? The stable coins are a different aspect where CBDCs, and I could be wrong about this assumption, Mark. So maybe Mark or Cork have a little bit more of an enlightening perspective in it, but essentially the CBDC then would be a stable controlled by the central banks then. So there's a separation between the two. Essentially, idea is the same. The control is in different hands. If I'm understanding that process.
okay. So what you're
But
saying is the fiat people, the banks, which control the legislators, they want to squash the degens so that their digital can rule the world.
Well, of course, absolutely. Banks always want the control.
Okay.
They want that money flowing back through their hands. Go ahead, Cork.
yeah, no, I was just going to agree with you. That's the way my understanding as well. It'll be like a stable coin, but totally controlled by the central banks. So that means they'll decide if you've spent too much money on alcohol, or they don't want people to buy cigarettes, they can totally control where and how you spend that money. Which we can always all at the moment see what's happening in China with social credit scores. So it leads into that, where they can, if you've been a naughty boy, they'll cut off how much money you can spend per month, or how much petrol you can buy, all those sort of things. So it's that's just a couple of things off the top of my head. There's thousands of potential areas where they'll be able to control everything we do.
Okay, so would this be an example? Like, let's say, like I know to get one of ours, it's 0.15, but we also take cards. So if a card company says you can't do that anymore, and it only could be used at Walmart or Target, and you can't use it for Dgen, is that an example of that?
Yeah, but potentially they can decide where and when you spend your money and how much. So yeah, it's just such a scary thought. Um, as the other,
Cork,
as it was.
Cork, I want to expand on that a little bit because even with the programmability of it, they could even put a time limit on it and say, well, say you were getting subsidiaries from the government, right? Say it's like just during like C-19, people were getting stimulus at home. They could say, well, you have 30 days to spend this. And then it will decrease in value if you don't spend it, right? Because they want to stimulate the economy that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And people. We have in New Zealand the dole. So I think do you guys call that social security? Is that the same thing? But but they'll be able to, if the government's paying you, a monthly income to see you buy, they can make sure you only spend it on food and rent, which is the argument for these. It stops people spending their social security on alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, which is isn't a bad thing, but unfortunately the negative consequences far outweigh the positive in my mind. What do you think, Vince?
May I cut in here? Sorry if hopefully you can hear me. Might be a little noisy in the background. I think that they could completely cut you off, right? As soon as you did things they don't like, as soon as you do things they don't like you to do, they can cut you off. They can take away their money. They can freeze your funds. I think that's the social credit aspect, for example, that they might look into to take over from China, because I certainly know that our government in Germany has looked into incorporating some of those aspects in recent years. And Corona has been a big thing about that when it comes to that, right? Because you can see all the restrictions, the limitations, people not getting access to certain things, not allowed to do certain things anymore, and they might just do that with the CBDCs as well. I mean, in China, for example, they restrict you if you do stuff that's negative in the eyes of the government. They restrict your ability to travel outside your own province, for example, and they might just do stuff like that with the CBDCs and in general.
Yeah, this is really good points, Torsten. Hasta la vista. So this is how the social credit score works. The system tracks various activities such as financial transactions, social behavior, and compliance with laws and regulations. High scores can lead to benefits like easier access to loans and priority in public services, while low scores can result in restrictions, limited access to certain jobs, schools, or travel. The system aims to encourage trustworthiness and socially beneficial actions. And this is how China is working right now. That is not a conspiracy. That is current and active.
Yeah, it's just horrifying. And people, I've had discussions with people, and they're saying, "Oh, that's it'll never happen in a Western world." But it kind of is happening already. You look at the number of people that have been debanked. I was listening to a podcast recently from Nigel Farage, and he's been totally, the English banks have cut him off. He had 2 weeks warning to remove all his funds, and he's a wealthy man. We're talking millions of dollars, and the banks, the large banks in the UK, didn't want to know about him. I also follow a podcaster who's 100% Bitcoin. His banks, he's also in England. Lloyd's Bank cut him off with 2 weeks warning, and he wasn't able to get an account with any other bank. And their only reason was because 90% of his income's he's paid in Bitcoin. So it's just horrifying that this can happen. And the reason people like us have to speak up is the vast majority of the population are like sheep. They just don't want to know. They're so naive, and that's how this stuff happens. It's sort of, what's the saying? Slowly, then suddenly. And it's up to us, people like us that understand what's going on to speak up and spread the word. No matter how often we get called fucking crazy tinfoil-hatted motherfuckers,
I agree, Sakok. It's when you get, I guess, people who fit the profile of conspiracy theorists, then it's they don't get taken seriously. But when you have, people who are pretty switched on and middle-aged, run businesses who are looking at it and just assessing it and going, yeah, nah, something's not right here. I think that makes things far easier. Like another clear example was, the Canadian trucker convoy protests. in 2022, where the Canadian government was essentially able to freeze the bank accounts of individuals as well as businesses to basically make them be compliant with what they wanted them to do, which was stop protesting. So those, I think those things, like obviously they had to get the banks to agree to do that, but those things become far easier to do for pretty much anything when you have a CBDC stablecoin controlling all the money, and when the money becomes programmable as well. It is frightening, and it's why decentralized crypto is so important, because we can operate. That's why, to me, in my mind, this is why I'm like in this mad rush to stack as much crypto, because I think this is all inevitable, and if you have enough crypto, you can operate outside this system that's about to unravel. If you're able to, it kind of gives you a chance. At least you've got a shot at it. They still might even try and control the hell out of all of that, but what do you guys? So we've identified the problem. You know, we're seeing it roll out in Canada. I think, you know, it's a scary thought to think of how much control they would have had if these CBDCs were in place during COVID-19. Like, they already had crazy control, but imagine if it was like the next level. For you guys, what are you doing and planning ahead for, you know, a way to combat this for yourself and your family?
Easy answer. Buy mint stoic space cats.
Yeah, 100%. It's I'm putting all my spare cash into cryptocurrencies, and a lot into the Xeno mining. That'll give us a long-term income that the government can't get their hands on.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I think that this is where, as Mark was alluding to, what are your options to be able to create as much wealth as you can in a short amount of time in order to be able to operate outside the system as much as possible, as what he was saying, right? We know that they're pushing like a carbon narrative and all this other bullshit, but yet they will get in their private jets and fly around the world, right? So there's not everybody operates on the same system. We're well aware of that. I think some people are waking up to that. I think some people are just absolutely fucking blind, like an ostrich with his head to the ground. Like, you know, they just don't see the duplicity in it all, right? So, in order for us to be able to do that, now, if enough of us are able to create enough wealth, can we essentially break down that barrier of separation and take back control by creating enough wealth outside the system?
Yeah, I think we can. We just need more and more wealth, into places like Bitcoin. These ETFs that are hopefully pending will be a huge step in that direction. So that the more the market cap of Bitcoin and the other cryptos grows, the easier it's going to be to establish it as a totally standalone alternative financial system.
I agree. I also think this is something that we've discussed in spaces before too, as well, where I think crypto is going to be one of those areas where you can create a lot of wealth, but I don't think it's the only one that you should be in. I think just as we do uh, diversifying in mining, we should be diversifying and learning the money game as much as possible. Some of those reserves in gold and silver, like precious metals. real estate. I think those are going to be the things to diversify across those, and learning at a deeper level how to take advantage of some of these things where, um, I think it's tax code 7702 here, where you can insure your wealth, just like you insure your vehicle, you can insure your wealth and then be able to borrow against that, and then you can buy assets with it. So you first insure your wealth, and then you can take a lien out against it, a loan out against that wealth, and put it into real estate. And then that real estate compounds, right? You can keep playing this money game of compounding and compounding and compounding. But learning how to play that money game, I think, is going to be one of the most critical components to getting ahead. And obviously, there's a reason why they don't teach us enough of this in school, because they don't want you to know how to get ahead.
Yeah, and even diversifying within one asset class is probably not the worst idea. I mean, I've been thinking about, once I hopefully have the funds to get into real estate, that might be a sensible thing to, invest in real estate in different countries, for example. So if in case one country, I don't know, goes to hell, then you still have some real estate left, right? So it's the same as basically investing in stocks. If one company goes down the drain, you still have several others left. So you know, not an important loss.
Yeah. Asta, you're bugging a little bit. Or is it just me that's hearing him like that?
No, he's wrecking.
Okay.
Must be
Yeah,
that
I think.
Moroccan internet.
Sorry.
Get closer to the router.
Yeah, I actually just got back to my apartment for last night, but I don't know, the Wi-Fi doesn't seem to work for whatever reason.
No worries. Hope you're enjoying that time away, man. Some of those pictures have been absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's already over basically. I'm flying back tomorrow night, unfortunately.
All right. Well, anybody down in the audience who would like to come up and hop into this conversation, you are more than welcome to come on up. Diversity of opinions is something that we want to value, because obviously we don't have all the answers. I think, again, going back to some of our discussion like yesterday, is having even a difference of opinions, but being able to have an open forum to discuss that, right? I think that's the beautiful thing here.
Let me clear this up for me because I'm kind of confused. Now we know that the 3 years went by where the SEC was doing its job on Ripple, but worldwide, I mean, they did a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of Ripple companies that don't want to pay the fees and charges to do fiat, Ripple has made it available so people can send other people money really quick, and the fees are hardly anything, and they've been helping out. So my question to you is why, if that's the case, why is XRP not soaring?
Um, I'm not sure that I have an answer for you. Although, if you listen to kind of like what Crypto Sensei has been saying and things like that, these are still all considered somewhat speculative assets, right? It's when you really get to the utility that the price appreciation is going to occur. Because as we do know right now, there's, let's see, um, well, let's see if I can reload this CoinGecko and tell you how many different cryptocurrencies there actually is. Uh, Something like 11,000. I thought it was more than that, but that's the thing is not all of them are going to make it. Which ones have true utility? You think of, a lot of these shit coins and stuff and things that are going to pop up, especially during the bull run, that are just meme coins that actually have no utility whatsoever, versus looking at something where all the building that's going on Solana, all the bank international banks leveraging the use of Ripple technology and XRP to settle payments, smart contracts on Ethereum, um, oracles with Chainlink, all these things that have true utility, something of function to it. XDC and TradeFi, VeChain with logistics. Those are going to be the ones I think that ultimately are going to see some of the best price appreciation because they're actually being used to accomplish and solve a problem. Happy to hear anything contrary, but I think that's where you're going to start to see, because if you want to look at where money is going to flow into, it's going to flow into projects that actually can do something for a company, not just be a meme coin.
Yeah, and I think as far as XRP is concerned, it probably has to do with that multi-year court case with the SEC. I mean, it's kind of turned into Ripple's favor, but I mean, it's still not final, right? As long as that's still hanging over it like a dark cloud, so there might be reason why XRP hasn't really taken off as much as other coins yet.
Yeah, I think they won the probably one of the most significant portions of it, and that is the fact that it's been now officially labeled a currency, right? And we still don't even to this day, I believe, have a definitive answer from the SEC of the status of Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? However, I think that they're still remaining to decide what they're doing with the amount or the XRP that's in escrow. I think that's where they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with that, and settling on the amount of payment for what was considered sold as a security at certain portions in time. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's where we're at with that. Correct?
Yeah, it's I don't know the exact specific answer to that, Vince, but I have my suspicions is that it is to do with the amount that's held by, I guess, the founders in escrow or whatever the escrow wallet. But if you go and have a look at the tokenomics of XRP, the total supply is 100 billion, right? And there's only 53 billion circulating at the moment. With that, what they do is they release 1 billion XRP per month. So essentially, there's a lot of pressure with constant tokens coming in, into the supply every month, as much as 1 billion. So I suspect, and also that fact that you're talking about, it's more seen as a currency. So therefore, a currency is, you'd think that it would be stable, more stable. Eventually. So it's kind of going to be interesting to see where it sits when we eventually get, the fully, diluted, rather than having a diluted market cap, we get the full market cap with the full supply out. So, yeah, I think that's probably the case with XRP. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I hope people are understanding this around why it's so important for us to have crypto, which is like this unlimited supply of fiat, and then that's how Keynesian economics work. Is essentially everything gets more expensive over time, and as that happens, essentially our money becomes worth less over time. We all know that a can of Coke gets more expensive every year, so hopefully people have figured that out, that your money's worth less and just sitting in the bank is doing nothing. And I think as we get closer to some of these tokens getting to like all of the circulation is out, then I think potentially we could see the prices pump a little bit harder.
Yeah, and a great analogy I've heard is, money in the bank is like a melting ice cube. It's just the value just slowly shrinks over time because of that inflation. But of course, the governments want inflation. They love inflation because that means, when they borrow all this money because of their fucking appalling decisions, the money, when they're repaying it in 10 years' time, it's worth a lot less than it is at the time they borrow it. So the money they're borrowing is also like a melting ice cube. So it's that's why the whole system's fucked up. It's just going round and round and round, mainly because of all these governments making bad decisions. There's no incentive for them to get it right.
Totally, man. And if you have a look at the system we operate under, like a lot of people don't understand that the macro system we operate under is called Keynesian economics, right? And that was a system where essentially this whole system that we see, where you have whoever the federal bank is, like we have the Reserve Bank in New Zealand, you guys have the Fed. When they set that interest rate, whether it goes up 0.25%, 0.5%, or whatever, that whole ideology only happened after World War II. And that ideology and that way of running the world was essentially to try and help everybody pull out of this crazy fucking period where everyone was spending all their money on wars. And it allowed us to essentially, okay, people aren't spending enough money. We need more stimulation in the economy. Okay, let's drop interest rates down, make it really easy to get loans. Oh, fuck, we've overextended ourselves. Holy hell, we better fucking increase the interest rates and stop people taking so much money. It's essentially like a false economy. How it should work is just literally supply and demand. And they screwed people. Like, you have a look during COVID, when COVID was heading off, and then everybody should have been knuckling down and going, fuck, this is really bad. Maybe I should sit on my money and not be stupid. That's when they dumped interest rates, and people were going out, getting free money. This is where they're printing their asses off. And then obviously once it all settled down, then these wars happen, and then the interest rates go back up, and people who overextend themselves due to the low interest rates are now getting, their houses foreclosed on. And of course, the wealthy and the billionaires and the elites are coming in and scooping up everybody's property at bargain basement prices. So it is definitely a messed up system. I think the only way to really deal with it is just to opt out and look to operate outside that system through crypto and what we're doing. That's my view on it. Back to you, Vince.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say that it's like a fucked up Keynesian economics, right? Because if you know that the Keynesian theory, originally, that means you're supposed to do deficit spending during a down period, and as soon as things go back up, as soon as things look better, you're supposed to pay back those loans. And that's what the governments haven't done in decades. That's what's led us into this mess.
Yeah, let's zoom out. Look at it. Look at a macro overview. If they knew that the dollar's time was coming to an end, and they've set all this up way in advance with blockchain technology, digital currencies, right? In order to move everybody into this system, you can't just entice people to move. They're not going to do it. You got to force people to do it. So how are you going to force people into a digital economy? You got to create a problem and then miraculously come up with an answer to the solution to the problem, and then come in and make yourself look like the white knight. Oh, we've got a solution to this. We're now going to free up liquidity around the world by having ODL with multiple different currencies or a bag of currency or whatever that is, right? They're fucking up the entire system in order to push us all into a digital economy. What do you think about that?
I certainly don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. For sure, I'm a little bit in, the same camp there as Sir Cork. Prior to COVID-19, I would have considered all of this stuff tinfoil hat garbage, to be honest. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I would tend to hang shit on those people. But, I mean, as things just happen and it's just appearing before your eyes, I mean, fuck. Unless you just want to gaslight yourself and try to bury your head in the sand, seems relatively obvious that there is this push to move us towards the CBDCs, and that obviously gives a hell of a lot more control. But I'm kind of wondering where this is going to go, because humans tend to be, we're pretty stubborn and we're pretty independent, and we're also, humans are, we don't generally like to be dictated to unless we don't realize it. So I think the government's going to be trying to be way more subtle in that they're going to roll this out on the back end. You won't even really know what's happening, or like the average citizen is just going to have their FPOS card or their debit card. They won't even know that we've actually moved over to this blockchain system where your money's programmable and you can get your shit cut off. And they won't even know till it's too late. So that's what I think is going to happen with the masses. For people like us who've, found crypto early, I think we could, potentially have government authorities coming after us in a number of different ways. I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be a huge black market for cash, as well as barter. I see that being something that's very, likely, because humans, it's just a bit like when, they made alcohol, illegal in the United States. Humans will find a way. It's the same. If they ban cash, humans will find a way. So I have faith in humanity to overcome it, but it's like, how do we get humanity to the level of consciousness that we understand what's happening? I think that's going to be the challenge. How long do we get there?
100 years. I don't know.
Yeah, for
I will.
people, for the most part, I think it's more comfortable and not trying to deal with all those things, right? So that's why it's probably going to take a while until things are so painfully obvious to everybody out there that they can't hide from those facts anymore.
Yeah, and I find, when I'm trying to share these thoughts with sort of family and friends, I think that, the thought of it generally horrifies them, and they just don't want to know about it. And they sort of bury their heads in the sand. But I think we've just got to keep persisting, so that there'll be a moment in time where something happens, and that'll make them stop and think, "Fuck yeah, Cork was right." We thought he was a fucking idiot. Well, he is, but more than usual. But and suddenly all the the ducks line up, and they think, "Fuck, okay." So I think we've just got to keep at it. I'm just thinking of a couple of my family and friends, and they're intelligent, university educated person. I'm thinking of like my father-in-law. He's a wealthy retired dentist, and I try to explain these things to him, and he generally gets distressed. It's and just doesn't, so he sort of shuts down and doesn't want to know about it. And I think that's, there's a lot of people out there like that. And then there's a lot of a lot of people that if it doesn't affect them immediately, they don't want to know. It's a kind of laziness, really.
Yeah, definitely.
They're in their own little orbit and they don't really want to know about politics and macroeconomics. But it does actually, it does affect them.
Well, yeah, you're right, Rob. Like the university, though, right, is like a factory for, I guess, institutionalizing the masses. I mean, let's be honest about that. But I think when do people start acting? When motherfuckers try to make us eat bugs, which are steaks. I think that's when that shit starts to happen, I think people are going to start perking up. Because, I mean, already we're seeing the narrative being challenged around climate change. I will be the first to admit, I remember when Candace Owens went on to Rogan and she just said, like, this climate change stuff's bullshit. And she just said that, and he basically tore her apart, said she was basically implied she was stupid and you don't have any evidence. And she said, look, I just know this. I'm not a scientist, but I know this. I fucking got my eyes open, da-da-da-da-da. I remember that very clearly, and I thought she was stupid at the time too. But I guarantee you now, if someone went and had a fucking chat to Joe Rogan about what he thinks now about climate change, he's probably got a way different opinion than what he did previously. And some of these things are just starting to like go, this is like obvious, because if you're Gen X like me, we spent our entire fucking childhood being told we've got to not waste paper for trees. Like, and we literally just got told that all the time. That was like the thing, don't waste paper. Look at all these wasted trees. Oh, look, we're going digital. It's going to save so many trees. Now we're fucking everywhere you go. Plastic bags in New Zealand are banned. Not sure if you guys are aware of that. So you can't get plastic bags inside supermarkets or anything like that. And then you're friggin' now everything's getting put into paper bags, and it's just some weird shit. I remember it's like if you go back through the history of a lot of the stuff they're saying about the environment, and I think it's all related because this is the things that they're going to use to control. It was, we're going to run out of oil, and this is why there's just the goalposts are just constantly moving around why things are done, and it's very clear that it's just about the prick at the top making a shit ton of money. It just seems obvious, but what are your guys' views on climate change and how this relates to it all? Do you guys have any strong views on that, or maybe I'm wrong? Maybe climate change is real. I'm not the authority on it. What do you guys think?
I think it's bullshit.
I guess
Yeah.
climate change to a certain degree is real, but I'm kind of torn about how much of it is really man-made, or how big the impact of what mankind does on it is. But I mean, climate change has always been there, right? So even before mankind, I mean, look at what killed the dinosaurs and stuff like that. Or I guess we're still in an ice age, really, probably heading towards the end of it. So it might just be like a natural change, most of it. And all this, the carbon dioxide doesn't really have that much effect on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got some pretty strong opinions on this, and I'm glad I can share it because I normally, in most circles I move in, I've got to keep my lips tightly zipped. Otherwise, I'll get absolutely crucified. But we're definitely having, climate change is a real thing, but it's not man-made. All the records we're showing, they're saying, from the start of the industrial age. Well, the start of the industrial age coincided with, some of the coldest years, in the last 500 years. So, we're starting from a very cold, starting point. So, of course, the temperatures are rising. But the other thing that turned my opinion is when I learnt how much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, and it's always one of my party tricks is asking when people start talking about it, is asking them, how much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, what percentage, and most people say, 10%, 5%. Well, it's about 0.1%. So they're saying, all these bloody coal-fired power plants and all the, are increasing, the carbon in the atmosphere by 5%. Yeah, well, that's like 5% of 0.1%. So the difference is negligible. And I did Bachelor of Science at university, so I've always had a scientific angle at everything. And so the thing that causes climate change is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. And we have had so many underwater volcanic eruptions in the last 50 years, like more than the previous 500 years. It's also one of the reasons why New Zealand's just had its wettest year on record, because there were several massive undersea volcanoes erupted off Tonga about a year or so ago, putting all this water vapor in the air. The other thing is that no one talks about solar activity. But if you go on websites and look at solar activity in the last 10, 15 years, the sun has been very busy. Some of these solar flares have been, in the last few years, of some of the largest on record. So you can't tell me that's not heating Earth up as well. But none of the climate, catastrophe people mention the sun's activity at all. It's anyway.
Yeah,
I'm starting to have a bit of a rant. Yeah, it's a real bugbear of mine, and I because of it, I don't just go on social media and repeat what I see. I dig deep. I like to learn, what's going on, and it's, if you spend 5 minutes researching, you'll realize most of what we're fed is bullshit.
Yeah, also the Earth's axis changes a little bit, right? It has some influence on the world climate, global climate, I guess. Earth axis towards the sun.
I'm just searching here, Rob. I've seen that as well. I remember Alan Jones talking about that, right? It's 0.04% of the world's atmosphere is carbon. And then I love your approach, because I like to try and look at the science as well. And it's the thing I didn't understand is how much carbon dioxide is absorbed by the ocean, and how the ocean acts as essentially like the lungs of the world, right? And through learning a bit about that, then you understand about the South Pole, for example. Underneath the South Pole, because they've now done studies on these friggin' icebergs that are melting, they've discovered that there's active volcanoes underneath them. And these bloody poles are just like melting from underneath due to this solar activity. This volcanic activity. I think it's just very typical of human beings that we fucking really like overstate our importance of how important we are. It's surely, I mean, you use a bit of common sense when you have like massive industrial waste going into the environment. It has to do something, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as what we think it is.
Yeah, and I'm also quick to point out I'm a conservationist. I've got my own plot of land here. I'm always planting trees and looking after the environment. So I'm anti-pollution. We definitely need to tidy up industry and improve the combustion engine and that sort of thing to stop polluting the atmosphere. But I think we get distracted from that with all this climate hysteria. There's a couple of posts come out recently. I've just been quickly searching here. I can't find them, about things that the climate hysterics was saying 20 years ago was going to happen by 2020, and none of them have happened. There was a list someone posted of all these things that were listed in the media. If we don't change now, this is going to happen, and half of Polynesia was going to be underwater, and this, that, and the other, and none of it's happened, not even close. So anyway, another rant.
Yeah, I remember reading like old magazines where they were predicting an ice age in Europe by now. There was a magazine from, I think, like 45, 50 years ago, or maybe even 40 years ago. So yeah, so that prediction turned out great, right?
Yeah, and just going back to carbon as well. I mean, we need carbon. I mean, trees need carbon. Back in the dinosaur age, there was something like 20 times as much carbon in the atmosphere, and that's why the dinosaurs flourished, because they were all massive, big, leafy plants, and they were, most of the dinosaurs were herbivores, and they loved it and flourished. But we need carbon. If we cut, I heard another scientist saying if we cut back carbon as much as people, some of these people wanted us to, all the plants and trees around the world would start dying because they feed off the carbon. So you can't win.
What Mark said about maybe 10 minutes ago, Vince, I don't know if you know this, but the state of Maine banned plastic bags. And any town that's has the coast next to it, they banned fast food restaurants.
What would be the reason for banning the fast food restaurants near there?
Because they were finding too many burger paper wrappers on the beach.
That's because people are freaking pigs. They don't know how to throw shit in the fucking garbage, man. Fucking lazy fucks. Sorry, my rant.
It's true, but I've noticed councillor or like because you pay your rates, right? There like there's like this massive reduction in availability of bins, so you can't even find a fucking bin around. It's part of this. I don't know. They don't want you to do it, right? But I mean, what's coming next? We're going to be old enough that in like 10, 15 years, it'll be the next cycle of hysteria. All of this shit will be forgotten, and it'll be, what's next? What fear mongering are they going to spread next? I mean, have you got any ideas of what you think's coming in the future?
Bugs, and more bugs.
The next big crisis will be electric car batteries and how we get rid of them all in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, there's more waste produced from those than there is from actual fossil fuels, if I understand.
Yeah, but I guess
Or
that's
toxic.
an actual problem, right? Because those batteries, I don't know, they're essentially like hazardous waste, so you can't just throw them away. It's the same crap as, for example, when an electric car starts burning, gets on fire. They can't just put it out the fire with water like they do with regular like combustion engines. So they have to let it burn down in a controlled way because of the stuff that's in those batteries.
I feel it's going to be, this overpopulation, lack of food, lack of resource, hysteria. That's where I think it's heading.
And kind of related to that, I've read a few guys saying that the next, in the future, maybe not 10, 15 years, but maybe 50 years' time, there'll be wars over water. Water is going to be one of the most scarcest resources.
Welcome to your science fiction of yesteryears.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of speculation on worldwide famine because of drought. And that there's different sayings where a barley or certain grain is going to be tripled in what it is because of the worldwide drought and the famine.
Yes, but I've also read that there's obviously enough rain falls. We're just not capturing enough of it, and that's of course, it's the, what do they call it, the NIMBYs, not in my backyard. No one, every time they propose building a new dam, whether to capture water or for hydroelectricity, everyone in the area kicks up a stink and says no. But probably the same people that are complaining about not enough alternative power and not enough water.
Wow, we bloody! I think we've covered just about every conspiracy theory that we could put our hands on, which is interesting, right? Because it does seem that people who are into crypto are a lot more aware, right? We're part of this movement, and the movement's way more than just get some crypto and make a shit ton of money. It's like, solve that, but then trying to set it up in such a way that, I mean, it's almost a degree of prepping, right? Becoming a prepper, but not just in the tangible sense of like having all your equipment and stuff ready, but also on this monetary side and being aware of what could come.
And having
that's what I
options,
feel.
and also probably having options of getting out of countries when as soon as you can see that they're going down or they're becoming too restrictive. I mean, in this globalized world, it's easy to even get residencies for other countries that are probably not considered like first world industrialized countries, but they might actually offer you a decent way of living there. And they're kind of easy or relatively cheap to get sometimes. So it's never bad to have like several passports at some point, I guess, because you never know when you might have to leave the country.
Yeah, I can't recall the guys. I think, I do remember his YouTube channel, Digital Nomad, right? I definitely watch his stuff, and yeah, he is. For people who haven't heard of Digital Nomad on YouTube, he's a United States citizen, but he's basically set himself up, and his whole philosophy is based around, go where they treat you the best, like fuck the emotional attachment to your country. Like, just go where they treat you the best. And he provides a lot of really good information on what's available in different countries, different tax zones, how much it costs to get citizenship or to do all that. And I know for myself personally, I'm spending time studying that because I think we all know our bags are going to fill up, and within one or two cycles, plenty of us might be looking to minimize our tax in different jurisdictions. So that's a highly recommend.
I already have my permanent residency in Panama. Made it in before they changed the program, before they made it more complicated and more expensive. Got in like 3 days before they changed it.
There you go. Torsten's going to host us all in Panama at his house. So we're all covered.
By the way, Morocco is apparently also pretty easy and cheap to get. So I'll let you guys know because a friend of mine, I think, has already done it.
Yeah, I'd be very interested. I think the main criteria I look at is, how safe is it? What sort of facilities do they have around hospitals, healthcare, and all of that stuff? You still want to be safe, healthcare, and then what is their taxation policies? Like those are, and I know there's certain countries that really do stand out. That's why a lot of people go to Portugal. I think El Salvador, we're going to see the rise of El Salvador. It's just going to continue to grow up as they I mean, they've already locked away, was it 40,000 MS13? So it's certainly going to be interesting. But we are coming towards the end of our space. I do want to hand it over to our speakers and say, perhaps if you have any sort of closing thoughts on this topic, and maybe what you're planning to do for your personal situation around CBDCs and where you're going with it.
I'd rather see the free market reign. Let it stay in
As
private.
far as CBDCs are concerned, I remember Madame Lagarde, that's the head of the European Central Bank, that's located in my hometown, Frankfurt. She gave an interview maybe a year or two ago, or maybe even less, where she basically stated that cryptocurrencies, they're the devil. And in the same interview, she was so promoting the goddamn digital euro, so the European CBDC. So yeah, I thought it was super ironic. And as far as my preparations, I mean, of course, collecting some crypto. Already, as I said, I already started collecting, residencies. Panama, by the way, Mark, has a territorial tax system, and I think they have stuff like a branch of Johns Hopkins in Panama City.
Nice. Thanks, Hustler La Vista. Vince, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think that I think we should keep the government out of it as much as possible, man. To be honest with you, and let the free market do what it's going to do. Um, so that's my personal opinion. I mean, I'm leveraging. That's where the diversity of leveraging different cryptos, um, and again, going back to what I talked about earlier, being able to learn how to play this money game and much better to put yourself, because I feel like this potentially what we're about to see
Am I the
is
only one who can hear him?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
uh,
then.
um, seeing the class separation that's coming with this. And if we're able to put ourselves into these speculative assets and put ourselves in a better financial position to be more in the upper class, it's going to provide us some more opportunities and freedoms than some of the other folks that are going to be late to this game and get stuck uh, in a low class position, so to speak, because they're just going to be stuck there. They're going to be reliant on government subsidy. Where I think us being very early, us taking advantage of crypto mining, diversity in that form, educating ourselves in the financial aspects is what's going to help us come out on top, basically.
Nice, man. Nice. Who else we got? I thought I saw Space Traveler come up, but Leo, what are you thinking, man?
I like the Wild Wild West, but just no scammers.
Do you think it's the scammers are worth it to have the freedom? If you had like the choice of, okay, this current environment where it's kind of scammy as fuck, but it's not CBDCs, or would you rather have CBDCs where it's like all controlled and safe? But yeah, is that kind of what you're saying?
I wish there was a group called, I'd call it like the Union of Transparency, where it was a group that you'd have to go through them to become a project and make sure they would make sure everything's legit. You know what I mean? There's got to be some sort of police out there that wouldn't put your thumb on you and be preferential, but just make sure you're legit.
Dogface Army hit squad, perhaps. But yeah, I see Space. Sorry, Space has made a late entry in. Yeah, what's up,
Hey, how's
Space?
it going? The saxophone playing from my son would have not been a compliment to your space earlier, but I was able to hear snippets and snatches. But I was particularly drawn on some of the conversation around where to live in the world, and I'm actually doing some research right now on Ireland. And so, for those of you who have any links to Ireland, I thought this was just a little tidbit I would throw out to the audience. That if you have a third generation of an Irish ancestry, so it can go back to your great grandfather or grandmother who was an Irish citizen, you can actually qualify for Irish citizenship. And the benefit of Irish citizenship is it gives you complete access to Europe. So if you're wanting to go live in Portugal, as you mentioned, get yourself in your ancestry.com or whatever search engine of choice and see if you've got any ancestry 3 generations back. So I do. I have it 2 generations back, and so that's one of my excuse me, my goals in the next 2 years is to get a citizenship with Ireland, because my citizenship for England, because I'm a dually right now, I have a US and a UK. I don't have access to Europe right now. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Always have enjoyed the conversation, and yeah, I'll put the mic down. Thanks.
Man, that's super interesting. Thank you for that information. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look in. I know my European side comes through Newcastle, then Scotland, but I'd be very interested, yeah, to get onto that genealogy and find out, man. Thank you for that. And let's close it out with Secork. What are you thinking, bro? What's the roadmap?
Yeah, personally, I can't see myself leaving New Zealand. So I've got my little slice of paradise here, about 3.5 acres. I've got a few sheep for the freezer and those cold nights, and chickens and a big veggie garden, fruit trees. And so I'm here. I've got the old Elon Musk Starlink internet. We've got our own water tanks, capturing the runoff from the roofs, and I'm just waiting for approval from the bank to install solar. So I'm setting up my little citadel here. I've already mapped out where the gun emplacements are going to be in the minefields, and I'm ready. And of course, cryptocurrency plays a big part of that. So yeah, I'm ready for the apocalypse.
Excellent. I was going to say, yeah, where's the armory? But yeah, it's the RV. The RV is at Corky's house. He's going to have we have his armory. We'll have a bunker there, and hopefully some cold beers in the fridge.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah, brother, what's up?
below the retreat, did you say you're going to build a bat cave?
Oh man, it'd be friggin' awesome. Like, well, there's something going on, man, because all of these billionaires have massive like houses right down in the south of New Zealand, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Like all the Bill Gateses of the world. I have this conspiracy theory in my head that there's something about down there that if there is a nuclear fallout, that area is going to be safe. There seems to be all of these rich bastards building massive bunker-like houses down right at the bottom of New Zealand, which is just a hop, skip, and away from Antarctica. So, yeah, I'm with Secork. I feel like New Zealand's actually like it's actually pretty safe down here, pretty isolated. So I'm looking to hang out here, but maybe Secork will have to have different places in New Zealand. You can be our Auckland base. We'll set something up here in the Coromandel with Stabber. He's down there, and then we'll get something down in Queenstown as well. And Stabber can be our chopper pilot. I know he wants to learn how to fly choppers. We need a chopper to bug out. But thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. So we've done a few interesting topics. We're just seeing how it would go. If you've got some topics that you'd like to hear about, jump into the server and write them up. If there's something specific you want to hear about, we are going to bounce around different issues. Today was obviously the CBD stuff. Yesterday, I think it was like Elon Musk, and that was, it's educational. But invite your friends, bring them along, and till tomorrow. Appreciate you, Vince. Give you the closing words, man.
No worries. It's thank you. And yeah, guys, we want these to be some really good topics of discussion. So if you got some things, like he said, throw it in the Discord server, come up, and speak. We want to hear different perspectives. I think because I will be the first to admit that I don't have all the answers. So I'm quite keen to hear what you guys have to say and some of your plans, ideas. I think it's a great way for us to learn and expand. As just Mark was saying earlier, that before COVID, you might have a certain set of ideas, but through being open-minded, hearing some other perspectives, you may start to change your perspective on those things and your ideology, like Joe Rogan. By seeing some of the facts that come out and some of the logic that's behind it, right? So I would say trust in the science, but we know how that can all be manipulated too. So use discernment, logical thinking. But other than that, that's all I got for you, Mark. Thank you. Great space today, guys.
Thank you, bro. Catch you later, everybody. Have a great Friday or Saturday, depending on where you are in the world.